Welcome to LY5 Elements, where we are dedicated to sharing the wisdom of traditional Chinese metaphysics with the world. Our mission is to teach complex subjects like the four pillars of destiny, also known as Bazi, Qi Feng Shui, and more, in simple, easy to understand English. Subscribe and share our content to help spread this ancient knowledge. Your support is what drives us forward. We also offer personalized one-on-one consultations to guide you on your metaphysical journey. Feel free to leave a comment or contact us directly for more information. Thank you for being part of our community. Hello everyone, welcome to the Intermediate Bazi course on analyzing marriage and relationships. In this lesson, we will share several factors that influence the marital relationship between a husband and wife. First, how do we identify signs of extramarital affairs? This refers to situations where after getting married, one spouse develops another romantic relationship outside the marriage. Second, where can we see indications of disharmony between husband and wife? Certain signs in the Bazi chart can reveal whether a couple is likely to experience conflicts or lack of harmony in their relationship. Third, in some Bazi charts, it can be seen that a spouse may pass away early. This naturally affects a person's marital happiness, and such possibilities can also be reflected in the Bazi. Fourth, there are signs of not wanting to marry. Some people naturally resist marriage or have little interest in getting married. Fifth, there are indications of homosexuality. This can also influence a person's marital situation. Sixth, there are indications of low sexual desire. When the sexual life between husband and wife is not harmonious, this may also be reflected in the Bazi chart. Now, let's begin with the first topic, extramarital affairs, and discuss some Bazi indications that can influence the emotional relationship between husband and wife. First, we need to understand that in a man's Bazi chart, direct wealth represents his wife, while indirect wealth represents his lover. If in his natal chart there is both direct wealth and indirect wealth mixed together, especially when direct wealth appears first and indirect wealth appears later, what does this indicate? It suggests that he may marry early, and after marriage, since indirect wealth appears, there may be other romantic relationships outside the marriage. For women, direct officer represents the husband, while 7 killings represents a lover. If in the natal chart there are many direct officer and 7 killings, and direct officer appears first, while 7 killings appears later, this also indicates that after marriage, there may be the possibility of having a lover outside the marriage. After marriage, if combinations and transformations appear in the Bazi chart and produces either wealth or officer, it indicates that the man or woman may have an extramarital affair respectively. Now let's look at a Bazi case example to illustrate this. Now let's look at this Bazi chart. First, we need to understand that each character roughly represents about 9 years of a person's life. The sequence follows this order: the heavenly stem of the year, the earthly branch of the year, the heavenly stem of the month, the earthly branch of the month, the heavenly stem of the day, the heavenly branch of the day, the heavenly stem of the hour, and the earthly branch of the hour. In this chart, an indirect wealth appears in the year pillar. This represents an early romantic relationship. The year pillar generally corresponds to the period between the age of 18, which means it may indicate a teenage romance while still in school. Then in the month pillar, there is direct wealth, which suggests that he likely got married in his 20s, because direct wealth represents the wife in a man's chart. Next, if we continue to look further, when we reach the heavenly stem of the hour pillar, another indirect wealth appears. This indirect wealth represents the possibility that he may have another lover outside the marriage later in life. The key point to understand here is that when direct wealth and indirect wealth are mixed, where both appear in the chart and direct wealth appears earlier, while indirect wealth appears later, it indicates that after marriage, there may still be the appearance of a lover in the later stages of life. For women, direct officer and 7 killings represent the husband and the lover respectively. Now let's look at the female Bazi chart. Based on the principle we just discussed, everyone should have some understanding. You can see that in the year pillar, there is a direct officer. If direct officer appears in the teenage years, it usually only represents an early romance, since it is generally not possible to get married at that age. However, later on in the chart, 7 killings appears in both the month pillar and the day pillar. The 7 killings in the month pillar may represent her husband, meaning she could get married in her 20s, since the month pillar corresponds roughly to that stage of life. But after marriage, another 7 killings appear. This indicates the possibility of a lover appearing later, which suggests the sign of an extramarital relationship for the woman. This is what we call, in a male chart, the mixing of direct wealth and indirect wealth, and in a female chart, the mixing of direct officer and 7 killings. In particular, when direct wealth appears first and indirect wealth appears later in a male chart, or when direct officer appears first and 7 killings appears later in a female chart, it indicates that after marriage, there may be the possibility of extramarital relationships or infidelity. After marriage, if combinations and transformations appear in the Bazi chart, then for a male chart, if the combination produces direct wealth, it indicates that the man himself may have an extramarital affair. For a female chart, if the combination produces direct officer, it indicates that the woman herself may have an extramarital affair. If you want to know when a person may meet their spouse, you can actually look at the combinations and transformations in the Bazi chart. Let's use the same example again to illustrate this. This is a female chart with Ren water as the day master. What represents her direct officer? The earth element that controls her is the direct officer. What can combine to produce earth? For example, Jia and Ji can combine to produce earth, and Zi and Chou can also combine to produce earth. This means that in the annual luck cycle, for example, when she is in her 30s and encounters the Ren Zi year, the combination of Zi and Chou produces earth. Wouldn't that create a direct officer? The direct officer produced by this combination indicates that in that year, a lover may appear outside the marriage. Also, since there is Jia in the heavenly stem, when it encounters Ji, it can also again combine to produce earth. When reaching that year, Jia encounters Ji. When Jia and Ji meet, they combine to form earth, and earth is her direct officer. Therefore, before marriage, if in your Bazi chart, whether in the heavenly stems or earthly branches, any character combines with the annual luck to produce direct wealth, it indicates that you may meet your future wife. However, if after marriage another direct wealth is formed through a combination, it represents that after getting married, you may meet another woman you like outside the marriage, and there may be the possibility of infidelity. The same principle applies to women. During their luck cycles or annual years, especially in their 20s, when they are at a typical marriageable age, if combinations and transformations appear in the Bazi chart, regardless of which characters combine, As long as the combination produces direct officer, it indicates meeting their ideal partner. But if after marriage the chart again forms combinations and transformations that produce direct officer, it indicates the possibility of infidelity. In the next lesson, we will talk about secret combinations showing sign of extramarital affairs and increased romantic or emotional activity. Stay tuned. Don't miss out. Hit subscribe and share to join us on this incredible journey of discovery. Your support fuels our passion to keep creating. Any questions or need personalized guidance? Leave us a comment or get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being part of the LY5Elements family. If anything is unclear, feel free to drop a comment below. I would love to discuss and explore these topics with you. And for those of you who want to understand your Bazi chart but find the learning process too complicated, you can always message me for a one-on-one consultation. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support truly motivates me to keep sharing this knowledge. See you in the next lesson.